Thank you, Mariana. It's great to be here, and it's wonderful to be joined with Florin for our Envision segment today.
Thank you for having me, Alisa.
And what great timing for this conversation, because we have really been together on this journey as the pandemic over the last 18 months has really disrupted our customers, our mutual customers in so many ways, as they've had to adjust to remote work, adjustments in supply chain, new capabilities. And now we're at this interesting inflection point where people are starting to return to work. And so now we're looking forward to what does it mean to have a hybrid workplace?
Indeed. And this shift from remote work to hybrid work is a really interesting one. So on one end, 70% of the people quite actually prefer and appreciate the flexibility they've had working remotely. Mm-hmm. But then paradoxically, or seemingly paradoxically, 65% are also really keen on face-to-face interactions and the personal interactions. And what we see among our clients is that the organizations which do this right have a really interesting way of making sure of not mixing remote work with autonomy and flexibility. I think people need and want both.
You're absolutely right. It's really about not having one size fits all, because we know that every industry, every company, every culture is unique. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about in Envision is this notion of digital transformation. And we've learned that, organizations have really invested in their digital capabilities, not only to meet the needs of what's happening right now, but also to be future-proof. And every organization has a unique capability that they're bringing to market, which is really interesting. And so, we look at organizations like Telstra, which is one of the world's largest communications companies. They actually were on this journey before the pandemic of hybrid work. And I think they had, a number of days that were remote. And so learning how to set up for that, I think, was an interesting journey for them.
I think it's about process, it's about people, and it's about places. And I think on the process side, what we see being quite successful is organizations which are looking at designing moments which matter. Moments which matter in an individual's professional and personal life, and designing those moments and those journeys with the same loving care and attention that people have been designing customer experiences for a number of years. And also doing this based on analytical insights around the moments which matter, which have an impact to an individual, but also to the business.
Absolutely. And I think there's a range of these sort of implications, right, across this process, people, places. And I think the process side of it is really unique to the department as well. Like, we've learned that a process for a manufacturing line versus how you do remote sales and service look very, very different.
Indeed. And it's out there to say it's even down to the people dimension.
Yes.
It's almost like a segment of one, where the processes are down to specific individuals. I think we've seen more and more people around the world getting this feeling of you only live once, and therefore really asking themselves, what impact do I bring to society? What impact do I have to the world at large? And I think organizations and leadership which are really trying to clarify this purpose, the deeper purpose of work to individuals, is so powerful and something which really motivates people. It's about leadership.
Absolutely. And actually, there's this emerging framework around social capital. And what does that mean for an organization? And how does an organization invest in their social capital? And we know that the CEO of Microsoft, Satya, actually had a recent business leadership forum where he talked about that. And so we thought we'd take a minute and actually share his thoughts on the social capital framework.
On the social capital side, this is a framework that's been there, at least in tech, in the way we build tools for a long time. This 2x2 quadrant essentially tells us how to think about all the forms of communication and collaboration, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, whether you're in the workplace or remote. And in the past, I would say if you could be good at a few of these quadrants and still build the social capital required, because you could rely on that co-presence of people. But now going forward in hybrid, I would claim that we need to be world-class. Every organization will need to be world-class across all of these 4 quadrants.
Yeah, it's a really good point that Satya makes. And I think specifically the notion and the importance of places is getting so much more important. The purpose of places. And again, what we see our clients do is to merge the digital and the physical in a really intelligent way where people have seamless experiences and seamless processes across the digital and the physical. So as a little example, one of our clients in Europe, which is a bank, is looking to use analytics to nudge people, for example, when they're in the office, recognizing that, hey, Florian, I noticed that you're in the office today and you generally work with Jason, who is also in the office, and you haven't met Jason in quite a while. Maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's a few months. Would you like me to set up a face-to-face meeting between you and Jason? And this would be a gentle nudge surfacing in Teams, and I would only need to type yes, and that would organize a meeting between me and Jason, maybe order us coffee, and reserve the meeting room for us as well.
What a fantastic concept to be able, that's something that as an evolution, we've been working to bridge the physical and the digital. And so being able to do that in such a unique way, it's exciting times.
There's a lot of optimism in the world. And I think it's a tremendous opportunity for all of us to reinvent what work means, whether you're a frontline worker in a store, or you're working in a mine, or you're working with R&D at a chemicals company, or you're a professional services company like ourselves. The nature of work is being reimagined, it's being reborn for the better. And I think organizations which are going to master this blend of process, people, and places are going to be the ones which are going to delight their people and use this as a competitive advantage.
And I know in that same segment that we just heard from Satya, he talks about how Microsoft is reinventing our physical locations to do just what you're talking about. So maybe we can hear from him again and hear what he had to say.
Let me just say, inside of Microsoft's own footprint, we're finding that there's just a lot of variability. When I look at even R&D, what a game studio needs versus what a kernel team needs, versus what a business application teams are different. So we are finding that there is no commonality. But the one thing that we are dealing with is, even if, let's say, there is something called optimal, the challenge I think we are all going to have is the changed employee expectations. So you just can't sort of think that you're going to, you really have to accommodate for what is going to be the flexibility expectations. And so the way we want to approach it is use data and continuously see if we can shape the norms versus trying to force the norms from day one.
It's great. It's a great point that he makes about flexibility. And I think it really underscores what you were saying around using data analytics to be able to do this merger of these worlds and create new employee experiences. But I think it also extends beyond just the individual, right? It's also this notion of how do you onboard people to this new world, and what does that look like? And I think we have one more segment that we're going to hear from Satya on that particular topic, and how you shape the culture, you have a completely new employee experience, and how you kind of wrap it all together.
We have been studying a lot of data, and I mentioned this, I think, a couple of events back as well. We studied, for example, the intern class last year and said, okay, what was their experience like? The number one variant there was the manager, because the single manager or mentor and their connection makes a difference, because in the past we could rely on the campus, them being on campus and all of the peers and what have you, and that sort of doesn't exist. So therefore, we are stressing a lot more on how to help managers stay connected to their employees. That's sort of you could say that's basics, but in some sense, it becomes the most important thing. Beyond that, some of the tools, like that's why this employee experience as a category has suddenly, gone from sort of a nice to have to an important thing. In fact, a lot of us who used to have corporate intranets and so on, we just said, those are not priorities anymore. Guess what? Now they are, because you do need to have that continuous connection between your company, your mission, your culture, and your employees. So both some digital tools, but good old-fashioned great management.
Yeah, I think it's terrific how Satya emphasizes the importance of good management. And I think the importance of managers growing as leaders, which I think is something that we've seen being accelerated over the last few months when every manager or a lot of managers have had to manage teams remotely. I think the other bit here, which I really liked and resonated very strongly with me, is the employee experience growth as a category. So I've been in the employee experience space for close to 20 years. And I think it's so terrific to see employee experience connecting and jazzing with customer experience, and one emphasizing and strengthening the other. So we're strong believers in customer experience plus employee experience equal ROI. ROI for companies, ROI for businesses.
Could not agree more. And the background that I have in business process, and when you marry those, when you have the right process, connected to the employee experience that leads to a better customer experience, it's just this amazing virtuous flywheel. So it's wonderful to see. And it's been great to spend time with you today.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
And
it's great to share this with our viewers. And I think as our companies work together to usher our mutual customers into this next era, it'll be an exciting time.
I'm looking forward to it, Alyssa.
Well, thank you. And Mariana, back to you.